Well, hi, everybody, it's another Conversations with, and with me today is Bonnie Wallace. And Bonnie, I'm delighted to have you back. And we've got an interesting topic. I was telling a friend of mine who was running in 9,000 directions and running all over the place. She has 2 kids and the kids, and I said, you know what I do? I said, every once in a while, I go, this is Dickie time. And I take time for Dickie. Now, sometimes I'll go for a walk around the block. Sometimes I'll just get in the car and go for a ride. And other times I'll just go to my nice rocking chair, sit in my rocking chair, and just relax and rock and just clear my head and just make it time for me. And I know that you advocate things like this. So I thought that might be a great topic to talk about today, is for people to take time for themselves. Because if you don't, you're in a rat race that never ends.
I agree 100%. I love that. It's so true. And I think that especially people my age who have kids and who feel
the demands are unbelievable.
Right. You're working, you have kids, you're having to feel like you have to go everywhere. But what I like to do for my Bonnie time is even though I teach yoga and I don't necessarily need to go to a class. I can just get on my mat at home. But I like to go to one class a week. I like to say, like, this 1 hour a week, I will go to this class. And it's usually not the same class. You know, it's whenever I can find it in my schedule to kind of wiggle around everything else that's going on and what everybody else has.
Yeah.
But I put it in there so that I have a chance to just let everything go, not be in charge.
Yeah. Well, that's, when you have kids, and I have 5 of them. And I have a sign on my refrigerator, and it says, money isn't everything, but it sure keeps the kids in touch. And, now, your kids are younger. You still have, my kids are all, now, I guess from a dad's standpoint, nobody's in jail. They're all sufficient. Some of them got kids. They got their own lives. I guess that's the good side. But I just want, I tell this the other day to the kids, just once, I want one of them to call me up and say, hi, Dad, how are you? How's everything? How you feeling? Everything okay? Just wanted to say hi. I said, instead of, Dad, here's my problem. I need, But someone like yourself, Bonnie, and friends of mine who currently have a couple of kids, or 3 kids, or 4 kids, the kids are in soccer, they're in football, they're in track, they're in dancing, they're in piano lessons, whatever. The kids are involved. And it goes back to money isn't everything, but it sure keeps the kids busy. But the point is that you're 100% right. At some point, if you don't take care of yourself, they're not going to have you. And then what are they going to do?
It's so true. I was talking with somebody. There's a book called When the Body Says No. It's by a medical doctor. And what happens is our bodies can only
handle so much.
And what happens is we keep saying yes to everything because we want to please people. We want to make people happy. We want to help people. And generally, living a life of service does fill you up and it does make you happy and it does feel good. Yet, if you're not taking care of yourself, then you don't have anything to serve with. Your cup is not full to give it to anyone else. There's nothing there. So the body will start saying no in ways like chronic illness.
Yeah.
And in ways, like ailments popping up and mystery reasons. Like, where is this coming from? Why did I wind up with this illness? Well, the body is talking to us, telling us to take Dickie time or take Bonnie time.
And the demands on you, and when I say demands, many of them are self-inflicted demands. You've agreed to do it. Mm-hmm. And in your case, with 4 kids, you don't have any choice but to do it. but then there's the guitar, and then there's going to sing at the hospice, and then there's the yoga, and then there's this thing, and then there's that requirement, and then you got a husband to keep happy, and then you got, and I understand all that. And to your point, I have my physicians are all at Mass General, and the 3 that I use currently all teach at Harvard Medical School. And these guys are they're the best at what they do. And to that point, my good friend Dr. Gorel, who's been treating me since 1984, and he's the one that taught me about Dickie time. He said to me, this is many years ago, Dick, you first of all, as you get older, you just can't do the things you used to do. I used to be able to run up and down a ladder. Now I got to go one rung at a time. I have to be careful going up and coming back down. And so there's things you just can't do the way you used to do. I mean, I can talk about, I'm in the Hall of Fame back home and I played foot. Wonderful. Go ahead and try to do it today. I couldn't run 10 yards, But the point is, we need to understand that if you overwork your body will break down because it physically can't handle the demands that you're putting on it.
And then you're going to have forced time out.
That's right. Well, no, not only that.
Because your body won't.
We had the snowstorm
stop.
a couple of weeks ago, and I said to Jen, what I'm going to do, we're supposed to get 6 to 8 inches. Well, I know, because I've lived here all my life, that if I wait till the snow ends to go do it, now I have 8 inches of snow to shovel, one shovel at a time. We have this nice walkway down to the driveway where the cars are parked. Well, we have a narrow driveway, so in the winter I pull her car really up tight and I park behind it so that there's no snow gets down there. But the walk's got to be done. So I said to Jen, what I'm going to go do is every hour, I'm going to be home all day, it's going to snow, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to go out every hour when it's only about a half an inch to an inch and just woof. And it was light, fluffy snow. So I did. So I never had to go out and lift the heavy snow. But each time, by the time I got to the 4th or 5th time out there, when I come home, because it was getting colder, and I'm huffing and puffing, all right? And I said, wow. So I had to sit down for a few minutes to relax. And your body, starting the first 2 or 3 times was easy. But each time subsequent to that, it became a chore because I was overtaxing my body, doing things I used to do when I was 35 that I can't do now. And so the bottom line is you end up overtaxing your body. And if you continue to do that, including your brain, you will get to the point where it'll just be a meltdown. You'll end up crying your eyes out, climbing in bed and pulling up the covers, or, just in the hospital,
Yes.
And that's what happens. And people can't understand why.
That's the thing, is then they act surprised. I have no idea it's a mystery illness, but it's really not a mystery.
No.
Because they've been saying yes to everything and never saying yes to themselves.
Right.
And the thing is, like you say, when we do whatever it is to take this time, and I love the examples that you gave because they were all things that didn't involve other people. Like you said, you sat in your rocking chair by yourself.
Yeah.
You went for a drive by yourself. You went for a walk by yourself. It was all stuff.
Well, I go out to dinner. I'll go to Mario's or I'll go to Oxford's Diner, family dining, and I'll go alone.
Because when you're doing this activity by yourself, you're not having to give your energy away to anyone else. And so many people don't realize that. They'll say, oh, I'll go take a yoga class, but I'm going to take it with my friend. But then you're talking to your friend, and then you're feeling...
It's not you again.
You're not really taking that time for really the internal...
Yeah. Well, when I went to the diner to Oxford's, Jennifer waited on me. She says, oh, you're alone tonight. I said, yes, I am, and I'm delighted. Really? You like to dine alone? I said, tonight I love to dine alone. I said, it's nice and quiet. I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to listen to anybody. I don't have to think about anything. I'm just going to enjoy my baked cod, my mashed potato, and my string beans. And then I'm going to have a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to go home. And it's been a delightful 45 minutes. And she looked at me and she says, I wish I could do that. I got a 4-year-old. I said, you're making a big mistake.
You can do that.
Do it. I says, do it. I said, not tonight, not with me, but some night, and don't come here, you work here. Go to some restaurant where you don't work and go to dinner by yourself.
Yeah.
She said, well, what will my husband say? What do you care? Tell him you're going out. I'm going to dinner. Leave me alone.
I need a night to myself.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then the same way he needs a night to himself too.
Sure.
I think when you're in a marriage, both people need to take time for themselves because, like you said, if either one person is not taking their personal time, then either person can get sick. So
that's right.
Again, you're so right. everyone, each one of us, we all need to invest that time. And it's not selfish to take care of yourself, because I think that's the misconception, is
That's
that
right.
you're being selfish. But the truth is, it's necessary.
Well,
It's necessary.
I honestly feel that I deserve it. I've worked very hard. You know, I've brought up 5 kids. I've got a great wife. We have a roof over our house. We have a nice house. She has her own car. I have my car. We have beautiful furniture. I deserve 15 to 20 minutes dicky time. Whenever now sometimes I'll go a week without it. Sometimes I'll do, but it's when I get to the point, and it could be 10 days, it could be 3 days, depends on the crisis of the day, and I get to the point where I say, damn, I need 10 minutes, you know, and I just go take it, and I watch the news, and I'll go sit down and just be alone for a while, you know, and I think one of the problems we have is with the single demands on one individual, the computers, emails, Facebook, phone calls, watching the shows on TV, whatever it is, stop it. Take some time for yourself. Now, you were talking earlier about some program that you have.
Yeah, so one of the ways that I share yoga is through my program, Renew Body Sequence, which is a great method of self-care. And I actually try to get on my mat myself and do this in the morning before my day. In addition to journaling, that's one of my self-care things, is in the morning. I think I might have said this before. I don't know if I ever told you this.
No, I don't know.
No,
Tell
okay.
me.
So in the morning, I take out my journal. I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. And then I write down 5 things that I'm going to do that day. And then I write down 5 affirmations, which are like a positive statement. So, like, I am worthy. I am grateful. I am love. And I write down those things that are absolute, undisputable truths that are hard to say. They're not. It's not easy when you know, because culturally we're told that we shouldn't be. You know what I mean? There's so many cultural myths that are bestowed upon us.
Right. Well, in the 4 agreements, he talks about the way you were brought up. If you weren't hugged and kissed as a kid, you don't hug and kiss anybody. You know, and so it happened to me in my marriage to Jen. There's 5 kids. They never touched each other growing up. That was something they didn't do. Oh, I walk in and I'm hugging people. Now, the bind you got, with all that's going on today, you got to be real careful. Even with some of the kids that are altar servers with us, if it's a young girl, and they're little kids, I'll say, can I give you a hug? And she'll say, sure, and then I'll hug her. Because that's one of the problems. But that's me. I just go up and hug people. And to your point, I have no problem saying, Bonnie, I love you. Because I do. You're a fabulous person. I mean, I can vividly remember that morning when I first met you. I just felt, I said, this woman is unbelievably talented. And I respect people. And you're right. It's very difficult for people to look at another person and say, I love you. I care about you. You're important to me. You know, and people will put a mark on your life if you allow them to do it. You know, and you can learn from other people. You can learn to be a better person, you know, and I love that idea with the journal. Yeah. You know, I had to go to Mass General the other day for a CAT scan, and I walk in and they said, how are you? I said, I got 2 great gifts this morning. And this little nurse looks at me and she says, really? What were they? I said, my eyes opened. And there was another nurse sitting at the desk and she said, oh my God, I got to write that down. I love that. She says, what an outlook. And how many people ever think that they got 2 great gifts in the morning, their eyes opened? Unbelievable. And so there it is.
Yes, it's great to start the day out with gratitude,
Yep.
and I love that you say that. Well, first of all, thank you, and I love you too, Dick.
Right.
You're,
I mean,
you are a gem in the world. You are a true shining star in the world, and all the work you've done. I just want to acknowledge that. And I also, with the gratitude practice and writing it down every morning, it really is the best way, I think, to start your morning, because then you've immediately shifted from whatever is like, oh, I got to do that, to like, oh, I'm so grateful I get to do this. I'm so grateful I get to show up for this job
Yeah.
today. And then, what am I going to do today? What are my 5 like PowerPoints that I really want to do? Like, write those down,
Yeah.
because what I find is when it's on paper, it happens.
Oh, yeah.
When it's out here,
Yeah.
maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
But when you write it down, it's there.
But I love the thing, because I think one of the great tragedies of our society is we aren't grateful enough. I used to tell people, hey, the first thing I do when I wake up is I go like this. And if I don't hit wood, made it through another night. but I've changed. I said this the other day to a fella. I said, and I can say it to you now, Bonnie, something happened to you and I this morning that's the best thing that will happen to us all day. There's nothing that you can do today that will beat it. And you say, what is that? We both woke up. And when you think about that, and I had a guy say to me last week, hey, wait a minute, Vaughn, I could hit the lottery this afternoon. And I put my arm around him and I gave him a little hug and I said, not if you don't wake up. Okay? And I think what you do, and I just love that concept of writing down 5 things that you're grateful for,
I can't take credit for this, I have to tell you. So this morning journal I got from, it was from somebody who got it from somebody, but it really came from Tony Robbins.
Right.
Who everybody knows who Tony Robbins is. I mean, so inspirational.
I went to a Tony Robbins session. He called me up on the stage, and I did a thing with him on the stage because I was the oldest person in age there.
Wow.
And he said I was the youngest one there.
Oh, wow.
And I walked on fire with Tony Robbins.
That's awesome.
You ever walked on fire? It's unbelievable.
No, I haven't. I've heard about people that do the coal walking.
Yeah.
I've never done it.
Yeah, it's scary as hell, but I did it, and I did a session with Tony for 3 days. It was 3
Wow.
days, and it was very very incredibly motivational, and I was sitting there, and one of his people came and said, Tony wants you to come up in the next session.
Wow.
And he brought me up and he asked me a bunch of different questions. And he asked me my age, and at the time I was probably 72 or 73. And he says, that's the amount of time you came from your mother till today. He says, you're about 45, And he says, look at some of these people out here, 20 years younger than you. They're not even in your league, And
he knew, he picked that up right away. He's
Yeah. Yeah,
amazing.
he is.
And I mean, it's true. Anybody who knows you would say that.
Yeah.
But he just picked you out of a crowd and knew it right away.
It was 100 people there.
Yeah.
And
That's
what he
awesome.
does a lot of times when he's doing sessions, he does things where you have to lay on the floor and you got to be quiet, and he walks around. And when he's talking up there, he's watching all the time when different people are doing things, because we do 1-on-1s, 2-on-2s, and so forth. And of course, I was with a friend, and she said to me, she says, I can't believe you got up there, and I think he's so hot, and you get caught, and you get called up there, but it was okay, but no, it was a great experience, and when I tell people, I always tell the story about, after Tony told it about, we're talking about actually walking on fire, and he told the story about the kid whose grandmother was telling him about the uncle who actually walked on water. And the kid says, really? She says, yeah, he walked right out the door and walked right over. And she said, you just got to think about it and do it. So the kid got up and walked out, almost drowned. And when he came back, he said to the grandmother, I just tried it and I almost drowned. She says, your grandfather did it in December when the lake was frozen. But anyway, I digress.
That's funny.
I digress.
So,
but those are but let's talk about
circling
that.
back, so
yeah.
in the morning, I have my journal practice, and then the next thing that I do is I get on the floor, or sometimes I pull my yoga mat, but
Yeah.
sometimes I just go on the carpet, and I do Renew Body Sequence, which we've talked about in the
Yeah.
past. So what Renew Body Sequence is it's like 13 steps, and it is really 12 plus 0. So 0 is letting go. It's really just doing nothing.
That's the toughest thing for people to do.
Yes, but it's in the center,
Yeah.
of the clock.
Yeah.
Where the 12 hands come around the clock.
Yeah.
So when I move the 13 phases, it's really letting go in the center and then going around the clock, the 12 steps,
Yep.
if you will. And so each phase, phase of the sequence that I move through represents a different part of the life cycle. So it's like coming back into the womb and moving as if I'm in the womb, and then moving as if I'm seeing ahead of what's coming next, and then moving as if I can only roll on the floor, and then moving as if I can sit and crawl only, and then moving as if I'm standing, and then moving and going through full yoga flow, yoga poses, and then coming back down and coming into what yogis call Shavasana, which is literally translates to corpse pose, which is like letting go again, but, returning to the earth, if you will.
Yeah.
And then coming back up and being ready to cycle back through it all over again. And so what this does is really helps repattern the cells into healthy, happy patterns of movement, so that for every phase along the cycle, my body is moving in a healthy way. And really, when you get back up, it just feels like a refresher, a renewal, a rebirth, like all of that. It just feels like coming into a new skin almost each time. And so I have actually private sessions with people where I ask them, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to work on? And then I cater the 12 phases, and I'll write down for each person, different yoga poses that match each of the 12, phases, so that they can at home go back and look at their paper that I write out with which yoga poses to do in order to move through the Renew Body sequence for them and for their personal goals.
Wow.
And I have seen people have unbelievable transformations with this. Unbelievable. So, working with somebody who had like a birth trauma.
Yeah.
So this individual's body has a lot of challenges with walking and stuff like that. So, a lot of the work that I've done with this individual is in the beginning stages. This individual, I really haven't done very much of the standing and moving around. The farthest we've gotten is really crawling. And not even sitting upright.
Wow.
And so every pose I've worked with this individual is strengthening all the different muscle groups to be able to integrate movement for those phases. And I will say this person is working at home, practicing the stuff at home, and coming back every week more strengthened, more empowered, and again, other people who I know I've worked with who had traumatic accidents later in life, they can move through the first, 7 phases, easy breezy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
But then when it gets to the standing, because that's when they had the traumatic accident, that's when they start to have problems. So then giving them specific homework exercises, like here's what you can do, to practice this exercise at home to strengthen these muscle groups to help the body sort of reintegrate and heal around whatever happened in that accident. You know what I mean? And again, I've seen people just have amazing shifts.
Well, one of the things that we experience, and it's be 3 years next month, my daughter Kathy, who is 2 boys and my daughter, she's 51. This was 3 years ago. She was 48 or 49. Was coming home from work after a big snowstorm. The car slid, hit a snowbank, went up over the snowbank, and hit a tree sideways. And the passenger door got pushed in. She had the seatbelt on, but her neck snapped. She broke her neck. They put her in a coma to keep her alive overnight till they could operate. The next morning, they fused 7 vertebrae in her neck, 3 on one side, 4 on the other. She was told she'll never breathe on her own again, and she would never walk again. And she was at Spalding, and I walked in to see her, and it was a sign, and it said, "You never know how tough you can be till tough is the only choice you have." And I have that on my refrigerator. Great reminder for me. And I'm delighted to say she called me the other day, and I don't want to go through the whole scenario with you, but she has a car. And it was an '06 Honda she bought. And her doctor said she can drive it around the yard. She lives near the airport in Middletown, Rhode Island. And the airport said she could come over there and drive around the back part, the big parking area. And they don't want her on the road yet until she gets really used to. But she no longer uses her walker. She walks on her own, goes up and down stairs by herself. And her doctor that's started with her to see her through this, who said to her, "You'll never breathe on your own again and never walk again." And he said, "The more I see Catherine, she's my poster child." He says, "I learned that 90% of getting healthy, 90% of recovery, 90% of medicine is here and here. You got the heart and you want to be tough and you say, 'I'll do it.'" And he said, because he told her, "You could have been in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, Kathy, and you're walking, and you're going to be driving a car. Can you imagine that?" And he said, "If anybody told you that, or me that, 3 years ago, I'd have called them crazy." So to your point with these folks who had these traumatic experiences, it works,
It does.
but they got to want it to work.
Yes. You have to do the work at home.
You gotta
because I'm
want
sure
it.
she
Yep.
had physical therapy, and I'm sure she did all the work at home.
She did every day. She has a physical therapist came to the house,
Yeah.
every day for it and spent a half an hour a day with her,
Yeah.
and did these things and taught her things and she'd practiced and practiced and practiced. And she said, "Dad, people have no idea the times I'd go and I'd cry because I could only do one step. And I'd keep getting up one step and I couldn't get the second step. And then one day I got to the second step. And then she said, but that took me months and it took me years to get to the top step, But she said, I did it, And she said, now I go up and downstairs.
That's awesome.
I mean, she brought herself back from an action. Like I said, she was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. And she said, that's not for me.
Yes.
But I mean, the point to you, and so let's talk about that. How do they get a hold of you? Somebody's out there watching
Yeah.
us, and you say, "Hey, wait a minute, Bonnie. How do you get those private sessions?"
All right. Well, my website is BonnieMayaWallace.com. BonnieMyah.
What's that?
My middle name.
Okay.
Wallace.
Yeah.
WALLACE.
Yeah.
.com.
Okay.
BonnieMayaWallace.com. And you can send me an email, Bonnie@BonnieMayaWallace.com.
Okay.
You can follow me on Instagram @BonnieMayaWallace. You can follow me on Facebook, Bonnie Maya Wallace.
Okay.
So Maya, that name, if you want to know about it, is actually a religious word in many different religions. And it means actually the illusion of what we see and think is real. Like we think all this is real, but really what lies beyond this that we can't see with our naked eyes is what's real. And this is the illusion.
Wow. That's interesting because my biggest problem is I'm a visionary. I see things all done, and I drive people crazy. and I've had people, my kids especially, I'll tell them something, and they'll look at me and then they'll say, "The SOB was right again." And if you've been around a long enough time and you've seen all these things take place, sometimes you just know the answers. And I remember my dad, how many times he would say to me, "Son, whatever happened to common sense?" And in most cases, all you're doing is common sense stuff. You're taking care of Bonnie, and we gotta understand, we gotta learn to take care of ourselves. Because if we don't, who the hell's gonna?
No one. There
That's
really
right.
is no one. Because
That's right.
here's the thing is people can authentically want to help you
Yeah.
and want to take care. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what anybody else does for you.
That's right.
It's about you taking care of you.
Yeah, you have
Yes.
to. It's,
It's necessary.
that's right.
And it's not. It's
And it
not
goes
selfish,
back
it's
to we started
necessary.
30 minutes ago. Take a little time for Dickie.
Yes.
Because if I don't have time for Bonnie, and I don't have time for Jen, and I don't have time for the kids if I don't take a little time for me.
Yes.
Because that allows me to be all things to all other people. And when those folks need me, I'm there for them, whatever that need is. And so it's important that we take care of ourselves.
Very true.
And folks, you need to call Bonnie and go to one of those sessions and start a journal. That's a great idea.
Yeah, you can join. We have a Facebook group my friend started. It's 100 Days of Unicorn Gratitude.
Really?
You can post on Facebook every day your gratitude.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. There you are, folks. You're all set. And there's another Conversations With.